You're listening to City Soccer on the New York City FC Network. Here now with the call for New York City and Inter Miami, it's Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
And here we are in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at Chase Stadium, the former Drive Pink Stadium, home of Inter Miami CF. They won the Supporters Shield a year ago, featuring Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez and Sergi Busquets and Jordi Alba, among others. And all four are in the starting 11 tonight against the New York City Football Club as we open 2025. There he is, Matty Lawrence. I'm Glenn Crooks. Wonderful to see you and be back again for another season of NYCFC Pregame Live. And, well, Matty, what a way to start. We just coming to Florida and into the circus, Messi and friends, and quite a task for the new coach. His first match is against the, what probably was the best team in MLS last year, although they got curtailed in the playoffs, but they won the Supporters Shield. So in the regular year, they were the best.
Yeah, look, technically within MLS, they weren't the best because they didn't win MLS Cup. But for me, Inter Miami were definitely the best team last season. Their record proves that, 22 wins out of 34. It's a prickly porcupine of a start, that's for sure, isn't it, for NYCFC and for their manager. I'm a bit unsure whether it's a bonus that Inter Miami have already played one game in midweek. It was a very, very cold and frigid affair that they won. But what we did learn from that game, we didn't learn a great deal, but it's that Messi still loves playing football and that you have to keep Lionel Messi quiet. And I think that's what NYCFC did for the majority of their two games in the 2024 season. The 2-1-1 draws, they kept Messi and friends pretty quiet, didn't they, for the majority of the 180 minutes?
Yeah, they sure did. And I think before we continue, Matty, and get into the matchup and some of the interesting thoughts from Pascal Janssen, among others, here on our NYCFC Pregame Live. It's become official at 6 o'clock Eastern. The New York City Football Club put out the release that Santi Rodriguez had indeed transferred to Botafogo in Brazil. We believe, and it's listed in the press release as the second highest transfer fee, trailing Tati Castellanos, which would put it in the $15 million range. But as we understand it, there are $2 million of add-ons. We've seen $17 million reported, and that could very well be the figure at the end of the day. Considering New York City reportedly got Santi Rodriguez on $6 million US dollars, you'd have to list that as good business, wouldn't you?
It's good business. It's not good for the football team, that's for certain, because you're taking Santi Rodriguez out of it and you haven't given yourself enough time to bring in somebody to replace him. Yes, we know there is Maxi Morales, who we think will be wearing the 10 shirt. He's ripped it back from Santi Rodriguez and he's got it back again.
Yeah, that's important. He went from 27 to 10 in preseason at Coachella in 27. An interesting story behind that. If they had not consummated the deal and got the written contract done by last night, Maxi would have been stuck with 27 the rest of the year. I don't know if there was any appeals, but MLS has a rule, which other leagues may as well. But once the season kicks off, you can't change your number. So I'm glad Maxi got his 10 back.
Yes, so am I. And look, Santi Rodriguez was the true 10 of this team last season, but we did see at the back end of the season what Maxi Morales has still got, and he's still got life left in the old legs. Will he be able to play every single game? I don't think so. When the season gets compact, I think in May there's 7 games. It's almost Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. He's not going to be able to do that, we know, which is why the money that they receive, the powers that be that they receive for Santi Rodriguez, it's very, very important that they spend that money wisely then. And fair enough, it might not be all of that 15 to 17 million. But there needs to be reinforcements for that team, because you only need to look down at the bench. And I mean it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I have no idea who the players on the bench are. And as I say, that's slightly flippant. We know they're younger players. We know they're good. We know they're good players.
I got a chance to see all of them down or out at Coachella in Indio, because they were given some significant minutes, with the exception of Maximo Carrizo, because he was with the U17s. He was captaining the team as they qualified for the World Cup coming up by winning CONCACAF and he led the way. He's on the bench, and while New York City maybe patrols the transfer market, and now maybe with a little bit more cash can inspire maybe someone who they've already been in touch with to make the move to New York City. In the meantime, I think Pascal Janssen has to at least, as training continues, see if Maximo Carrizo could possibly handle those number 10 chores, at least in the short term when Maxi Morales can't go.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to blood the youngsters at some point if your squad isn't that big. Let's be honest, when you look down at the bench, you know that right now NYCFC's squad is probably not as strong as they would want or strong as Pascal Janssen would want. Maybe I'm putting words in his mouth, and maybe he'll say he's completely happy with it. But there has been some massive losses from this team. To lose James Sands, to lose Santi Rodriguez, the spine of your team, or two members of the spine of your team, two of the best players in the team, to lose them and not replace them is not ideal for a new manager, that's for certain.
Last year, these two sides played twice. And look, we know there have been departures. New York City needs to sort it out in very quick fashion. But last year, both games ended up 1-1, including the match down here. Luis Suarez opened the scoring. He's in the match tonight. He scored a goal on a play where Matty Lawrence was convinced that he fouled James Sands on a free kick. You remember, Matty?
He did.
But that put Miami up 1-0. But then New York City was able to, later in the half, get a goal. And it was the first goal in a New York City kit, the first of 17 on the season for Alonso Martinez. So let's look back, Matty. You and I were there. You and I called it. And here's Alonso Martinez. Here comes New York City back again. The shot and the goal. And it is Alonso Martinez. And Nick Cushing has talked so often about what an incredible finisher he has been in training. It's one of the reasons he's gotten the opportunity. Well, New York City got free on the right. Martinez in the area. It was a pretty sharp angle, but he drilled it past Drake Colliner. And truly, Alonso Martinez, you'd have to classify him as a surprise starter. And you're probably asking, well, where's Jovan? Well, he was on international duty in Serbia playing with the U19s. He played in 2 matches, but he is still in Serbia, has not returned as of yet. So that gave the opening to Martinez in this sort of a setup.
And that's what we always say about games of football. If you have the shirt in your possession, you're a starter, make sure nobody can rip it away from you. And Alonso Martinez, to me, has done that already.
There he did it. And although he didn't go on a galloping goal expedition over the next few games, he did get that hat trick off the bench against San Jose. And then that's what jump-started Martinez, who is leading the front line again, as you would have expected, as no other 9 has come in. Monsef Bakrar had a good spring. You would imagine he's the backup unless Pascal Janssen decides to use them together. We'll get to that in a moment. But what about Martinez?
But Martinez is going to be relied upon once again. Because we talk about losing Sands, losing Rodriguez. Rodriguez provided a lot of goals. They've also lost Mijatovic as well, who had the potential to play as a 9, possibly as a false 9. So it is going to be Bakrar as the sub-centre forward. That is for certain, you would assume. I'm not sure that those two players can play together. Bakrar would have to play through the middle, and that would push Alonso Martinez a little bit wider for me. And I think Martinez is at his most dangerous when he's running in behind defences. And normally that's coming from a pretty central position. Bakrar, as we've seen, just hasn't quite lived up to the billing. And yes, he had a good pre-season, but he had a good pre-season in 2024 as well, if I remember correctly. It just didn't fall into place for him on the pitch, did it, last year?
Well, Pascal Janssen, he's convinced that Bakrar may be able to recover from what was, not really for a striker, an acceptable goal per minute ratio. Pretty much 1 goal every 5 games, 4 or 5 games. That's the way it averaged out. But talk to Pascal Janssen Thursday after training. And what you're going to hear here is Janssen about Bakrar. And then Bakrar, after a game at Coachella against San Diego, where he scored, New York City won the match, 3-1. And so first it's Janssen and then Baccarat.
Interesting because, as you say, he gets himself into good positions, and that was also the case last season. But he was not able to finish off every chance that he created or was created for him. We know Muncev is a finisher. If you watch the games and the training sessions now, you see that he's finding a good balance between linking up with players and being in the box and finishing the attacks. I think the goal that he scored against San Diego is a good example of being on time. And if you look back at that moment in the sequence and you see the willingness that he shows in order to be in the box to finish this cross from Alonso, shows that he's really committed. And I strongly believe when a player feels good and he's in a good space, feeling confident, you will always be able to add 15 to 20% extra to your game level. And at the moment, a lot of these guys are in a good place.
I feel like I'm free, like comparing to the last season. I feel like I have like one freedom. I feel like the coach wants me to do what I'm capable to do, and I don't feel any pressure and everything. So I'm glad to feel like that because it's most important to me. Like even if I miss the chances, it's okay. He never he know how to treat me. That's the most important. And yeah. With some patience, I scored a goal.
All right, Pascal Janssen, the new coach, and then Monsef Baccarat. He knows how to treat me, so we'll just leave it at that. But he's happy.
Okay.
He's happy that with his new manager, obviously. And then the Janssen comment about when you're in a good place, you increase your productivity by 15 to 20%. Yeah. He must have figured that out along the way in his near 200 games as a manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think it's quite an indictment of the previous regime when Monsef Baccarat says the new manager knows how to treat him, because I thought, looking from the outside, that Nick Cushing persevered with Baccarat too much. I said it on numerous occasions last season. I can't believe that Baccarat started. So there's obviously something underlying there that we don't know about, obviously. But yeah, it's quite an indictment of Nick Cushing and Baccarat's coming out saying the new manager knows how to treat me. I thought he got treated very well last season, but what I don't know. I wasn't there at the training ground. I wasn't there behind the closed doors. So something else must have been going on.
So we know that coming in here to Inter Miami, and let's show you again Chase Stadium, you can't really get a feel for the atmosphere yet, as supporters are now just starting to roll into the stadium. There will be nearly 200 New York City supporters. Originally, it was going to be the 210, the tickets that were allotted. But because of the time change, Matty, from 2:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. because of the midweek match in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which was delayed today, postponed because of the weather. And so about 20 or 25 supporters were unable to change their schedule. So unfortunately, they are not here. But about 190 strong are for New York City. And that midweek match, it was a 1-0 victory over Sporting KC. And who scored the goal? Lionel Messi. So, of course, Pascal Janssen watched the game. And so just kind of asked him about what he thought of Inter Miami.
Well, there's a few things that caught my eye. I see a team on the pitch in Miami that love to play the game. They enjoy playing together. So they look forward to each and every game. They've won a lot of games. Coming back from being a goal down is something that is shown over the games that they've played. And of course, you mentioned Messi as a leading factor within the team. He scored a lot of goals and he looks razor sharp coming into this season, which is a big compliment for him.
So my broadcast partner, Matty Lawrence, and I'm not just saying this because he's sitting next to us here during the interview, but we were talking about Miami and Messi. The way he phrased it is Messi is playing with his friends and it's like they're out in the playground just having fun. And that's almost difficult to prepare for, isn't it?
It's always difficult to prepare because it's all about expectations. You don't know, you haven't been in the kitchen from Inter Miami to see what their plans will be.
All right, so let's get in the kitchen, Matty. But how about that? And I love the way you put that. And it is difficult to prepare for, is it not? I mean, certainly And I think the way it's been described to us is that they're given a lot of freedom when they have the ball, but there is an organizational sense when they're out of possession, which I don't think any team survives without that.
Yeah, of course. That comment I still stand by it. It does look like they're just enjoying their football.
Well, talk about his friends. So they're talk about the lineup on Wednesday.
The lineup on Wednesday was just all his mates. There's Mascherano is the manager. Alba wasn't there, but there was 7 Argentines in that starting lineup. And 2 of the 4 that weren't Argentines he had played with, which one was Suarez, obviously Uruguay, and the other was Busquets, Spanish. He had played with both of them. It is literally into Messi. I know he joked about it last season, but this is Messi run, this football club.
Yeah.
And while it's going well, that's fantastic. But let's see what happens if they start losing games, because very much a large part of this is all about Messi, keeping him happy. But look, we know those conditions against Sporting KC. It was frigid. It was freezing. It really was. But Messi played with a smile on his face, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
He could easily have just turned it in and gone, I'm not playing in this one, it's too cold. But they all turned up. Granted, Alba wasn't there. But the big guys turned up. And when they were needed, it was the beautiful pass from Busquets into Messi. Lovely touch, lovely finish. You have to keep those guys under wraps. And surrounding those older, very good players, you've got a bunch of very good young players as well. It seems as though you've either got to be over 35 or under 23 to play in this team. It really does. There's not a great deal in between.
Well, Messi and Suarez are both starting along with Busquets, so that's right down the pipe of the field. Messi usually playing underneath Suarez, and they have a lot of fun together. And Busquets, who assisted Messi on the goal against Sporting KC. Kramaski is going to get a start. Benjamin, and nothing else too surprising, although I thought we might see the Chilean Maxi start at the back for Miami, but it'll be Noah Allen, we think, next to Thomas Avalos. And Jordi Alba is in the lineup as well. So the Barcelona 4 are out there. The Barcelona coach is here, Javier Mascherano. And it's amazing. He played with all 4 of those.
Yep.
And then he coached a number of these players when he was a youth national team coach for Argentina. But I think a very astute friend of ours, a colleague, Ariel Hudas, who is on the Spanish commentary side, made a pretty good point about maybe what the level or experience as a manager Mascherano has at this point, because there were openings in Argentina and he didn't get them. And he ends up at Miami. Now, maybe Lionel Messi, flew down there and said, listen, man, this is where you're coming, and here's what the ownership's going to give you. But he is someone who is, as a young manager, it remains to be seen in a sense.
Well, firstly, this is his first foray into club management.
Right.
We have no idea what he's like day to day. And with the Argentine youth teams, under 20s and under 23s, he was an absolute failure. He failed. They've got wonderful talent down in Argentina. World Cup winners, of course, as well. And it just didn't work for him. They got knocked out of the quarterfinals in 2024 in the Olympics. It just didn't work. So let's see how it works now here in Miami. Look, he's away from the glare of the Argentine press, which I could compare with the English press.
Yeah.
Very, very harsh. He probably wouldn't have wanted the Boca Juniors job or the River Plate job, because he would have been under a mass glare. But not only did he not get those jobs, he didn't even get a sniff. He wasn't even in the running. So the ownership groups and presidents of big teams down in Argentina, big teams worldwide in Boca and River, they didn't look at Javier Mascherano. And when you look at his playing CV and the fact that he played 147 times for Argentina, you'd have thought he would be a shoo-in for those big jobs in Argentina, but he wasn't. So something is going on that's telling people that he isn't a great coach at the moment. It remains to be seen what he does here, of course.
Hey. Hi, Matty and Glenn. How you doing?
We're doing good.
Great. What else we got? Oh, we got a guy who's been here from the start, sort of like ourselves here, is Tony Larson. Have a great season.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. It's always, and Kevin Rogers, certainly always there to support us. Yes, Santi Les, what we hit on right at the top of the NYCFC Pregame Live, which we do 45 minutes before kickoff every game, home and away. So I hope you'll you'll add this into your listening and viewing pleasure. But we talked about Santi at the top. The club made it official at 6 o'clock Eastern that Santi Rodriguez had been transferred to Botafogo for the second highest transfer fee in club history, just behind Tati Castellanos. We've decided it was good business. We've also decided that's a big hole to fill. Maxi Morales, who will don the number 10 again. So he's got the number 10, used to be 27, while Santi wore the 10 last year. And Maxi will be running the show tonight, and he'll be running as many minutes of the show as possible at the age of 37. And certainly one of the considerations for Pascal Janssen is how does he maneuver it when Maxi's not available? Now, another question for Pascal Janssen. Thiago Martins, a designated player at the back, he hasn't competed for a minute in preseason, not available tonight. You'd have to question what his availability will be at Los Angeles next week against LAFC, who, by the way, defeated Minnesota United 1-0 on a Jeremy Abobase goal. But here's Pascal talking and giving us a bit of an update on the calf injury to Thiago Martins, who finally trained with the team this week.
Very positive, to be honest. Today was his first session with the team without any modifications, so that's a very, very big achievement from the medical staff together with Thiago. But going into this preseason, the first few moments I had to watch the training sessions, and he was already struggling just a little bit with his calf. I wasn't available to be on the pitch myself. And going into Santa Barbara, he only trained with us one session, and then the calf was there. You know, injuries are always a part of a season, but you hope that the availability of the players will be as high as possible. But going back into history with Thiago's background, he's had some injuries, so we know his body is something that he has to take special care of, and that's what we've done over the past 4 weeks, and that's why he's almost available again. And looking forward, I hope he will stay available because he's a good player for our squad.
An important player, and at the back the way New York City will do it. And Martins was paired with Strahinja Tanasiewicz in the 1-1 draw at Yankees Stadium. They both played very well together with James Sands sitting in front. It's Justin Hack tonight who's going to have to take charge maybe of monitoring Messi throughout. So that'll be an interesting matchup to watch. It's Tanasiewicz and Berk Risa playing central defense. So Martin's still absent, but the good news is he's back at training.
Yeah, and I thought he looked pretty fit when we watched
we
him
got a
on
good chance
Thursday.
to see him, yep.
It was kind of an 11 against 11 game. He was playing in the reserve side up against the first team, the starting 11 we see tonight. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked healthy. But Pascal Janssen's absolutely right. He does have a history of injuries. He is a very well-paid member of this side, so you want him to be as fit as he can be throughout the whole of the season. You don't want to rush him back, that's for sure. And what he was talking about, to me, that's an injury he carried over from last season, and it just didn't heal properly in the off-season. Right. It has to be. You don't come in with those calf injuries, or they don't just suddenly materialise, in my experience, in pre-season, unless it's because you're doing so much running and you tweak it. I do think, and I don't know, I'm purely speculating, that it was something he had from last season.
All right, we're about 7 minutes away from the start of our live commentary, the pregame show on the New York City FC network. NYCFC.com/radio, or if you're on the TuneIn app, you can go to the New York City FC network. So that's upcoming, including the full 10 minutes or so with Pascal Janssen, our one-on-one. Matty was sitting with me as we caught the coach at the training facility, really our first sit-down in a pregame fashion with Pascal Janssen. I also got a chance to sit with Bruce Arena. This was at Coachella. I was doing a number of interviews for Sirius XMFC. Well, Bruce will make his debut with the San Jose Earthquakes tonight. They host Real Salt Lake. But I asked him about MLS scheduling New England, because it was in New England where he was suspended for inappropriate behavior, and MLS suspended him, which did not please him. But here is his take on San Jose at New England.
One of the first things I noticed was San Jose at New England, and I also heard you publicly say you were a bit surprised that MLS would schedule that. Why'd you?
No, I wasn't surprised. I've actually imagined they would do that.
Okay.
just to be a pain in the ass for me, right?
Yeah.
And then we also are playing, DC United on the same day we played them 30 years ago when I coached DC United here in San Jose. Okay. So they have that as well. So
well, that's kind of more of a fun one, but the New England game is a little.
They're not as dumb as you think, those people in the front office of MLS.
And then you've got Chicho Arango. Your opening game is against RSL, so he's, he may have a game he's looking forward to.
Before we got him, so I can't give the league any credit for that one.
So I thought I'd just give you a little Brooklyn Bruce. Brooklyn, Long Island. He loves California, but I think that's a lot of Brooklyn right there, Matty Lawrence. Well, we're going to give you some Jersey City and East Brunswick. That would be New Jersey, but we're in the New York City FC, and our commentary is upcoming at 7:15 Eastern here from Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale as Inter Miami hosts New York City FC. It's the opener for both as we open 2025. So happy that you joined us for this, and we look forward to describing the game for you in just a few minutes. For Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Enjoy the game, everybody.